Necessities first, just to get started. This is Tuesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, meeting of the Board of Health. My name is Paul McKelk, Chair of the Board. Let me confirm all the members in person. Board of Health members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Sue Regera.
I am here and well.
Bob Wheeler.
Present.
Staff. Mary Arata is here as our wing person, and Margaret is sitting in with us. Bill isn't on yet. Currently don't have any anticipated speakers other than Bill and board members. The open meeting of the Berlin Board of Health is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Berlin website at www.townofberlin.com. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, provided reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. While no in-person attendance of members of the public is permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. The standard public comment portion of this meeting will accommodate limited public comment. For this meeting, the Berlin Board of Health is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, identifying how the public may join. Meeting materials. The public is encouraged to follow along during this meeting using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Supporting materials that are available this evening to members of the Board of Health, can be made available to the public by request. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite each board member by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Board members and speakers on the agenda, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with each other, please do so through me, taking care to identify yourself. Public comment portion of the agenda. To the extent that our technical capability allows, public comment will be permitted during the public comment portion of this meeting as follows. Attendees' phones and other devices will be muted unless and until they raise their hand and are recognized by me to speak. I ask each member of the public who wishes to speak to identify their name, and I will afford each speaker time to ask a question or make a brief comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. And at this point, I would like to officially open the meeting of May 5th of the Berlin Board of Health. It's not a huge agenda by any means. The first thing on the agenda is regulation revision. I think I would like to push that off to a little bit later, and let's deal with some of the more straightforward things.
Okay.
And the first of those would be to schedule variance hearings. And this is where Bill comes in.
Yeah, so what do you have listed, Paul? I don't know that I have those requests yet. I put them on just in case I
Okay,
did.
one is the library, 23 Carter Street, the upgrade they're looking for.
Yeah, I spoke to the designer, Evan, on Monday, and he said he'd have me a letter by the end of this week. So, you know, if I get it, I can reach out to you. Obviously, I can fill out the hearing form and figure out a meeting that works. Probably first in June if we get it this week, or we can wait till the 19th and jump into our second meeting in June. Either way.
But aren't we kind of approaching a deadline for the library?
I think the
Not
fall.
until the fall.
I think the fall's a deadline unless the town files an enforceable agreement, which adds another 3 years onto the window.
I believe it's October, if I'm not mistaken, but it is the
September or
fall.
October. Yep.
September. Oops.
The next variance hearing that needs to be scheduled is lots 1 and 2 on Pollard Road.
Yep.
And that is the new development going in off of West Street as you're headed to Clinton on the right-hand side before you get to the railroad tracks and the Northbrook.
Correct. And again, I just spoke to that engineer yesterday, and there were some revisions necessary to the plan, and she will get us variance letters once she determines what those, the ultimate list will be. So again, those will probably bump to our next agenda.
Okay. Just a curiosity question, Bobby, with your local historical knowledge, does the name Pollard mean anything to you?
Yeah, there's politics in our history.
Is
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Okay, something to look up. Just
yeah.
curious.
yeah. I think it's yeah.
I
I've asked
didn't know if that came out of the western skies or there was
Oh,
a
it
thought
could've-
process.
It very well could have, but I think there's a list we go through, and I think Pollard is one of them.
Okay,
Yeah, I've asked a couple people, and no one knows that answer yet, where that name came from.
Oh, okay. Might
There's
want to just maybe we could ask one of the Facile boys, but
yeah.
Yeah.
there was a Betsy Pollard, a few different ones, but I can't. I would have to get the
That's
book.
fine. Just knowing
the
there's some
book out
history, we can dig into that later. That's fine. Permits to deal with, Lot 1, Peach Hill Road, and it's a transfer.
Yes, that is a permit, part of Mark Rhodes' Gibbs Road project. Lot 1 Peach Hill Road is that one frontage lot that's not on the cul-de-sac. And that's been sold to a William Kyra. So I have the permit that transfers that permit into his name. And if the board's okay with that, I can sign it for the board.
Is that the same William Kyra that has lived in town, do you know, Bill?
Yeah, I think he was
up on
up
Ball
on,
Hill?
I think he was Ball Hill.
Yes,
So,
yep.
yep, that's him.
He's,
How do you spell that, Billy?
Kyra is C-A-I-R-A.
R.A., yeah.
Lot 1, street number 188 Peach Hill Road.
Okay,
Should we make a motion on that to approve it?
Oh, actually, you know what? I think the street number is 118. I think I got a typo on my permit.
Oh yeah, because it's on Peach, right, Billy?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have to vote on that, or is that just a basic permit, right?
Well, normally at a meeting, I think you would just sign it because it doesn't involve any
Right.
variances or anything.
Right, it's
So
just a
however you wanna
transfer.
handle that.
Okay.
Transfer.
okay, the next one is Highland Street, ST and PC, and I'm not sure what that means.
That is the Chris Slade project, ST septic tank, PC pump chamber.
Ah, sure.
The original plan that the board approved had two large multi-unit buildings, and as you know, they're now proposing kind of a loop road with a lot of there's standalone duplex type units. So we have a new set of plans that show that distribution system. The way the elevations work up there, they're going to be there's 66 units total, and they're going to be split into a group of 24 units and 42 units, which will serve a septic tank and pump chamber for each set of units. And there's also a clubhouse that's going to have its own gravity septic tank. So there's actually three individual permits that are required to allow that distribution system.
So there'll be 3 tanks, Billy, or a tank for every, excuse me.
The 24 unit group will be served by a 2-compartment tank and a pump chamber. I can get the volumes if you need them.
No,
The
no.
42 unit group will be served by 2 septic tanks in series and a pump chamber.
And as far as you know, Chris Slade is still the driving force in that?
Yes, and I don't know if you heard his health history, but he's been through a lot lately. But the news is that he's going home on Friday from rehab.
Oh, good.
He
Okay,
had
good.
some serious health issues, but he's doing better.
All right. Title V inspection reports, 97 Pleasant Street. There was a water filter discharge into the septic system, which had to be removed.
Yeah, and the owner has emailed us documentation that has been removed. So we sent a letter saying that Title V was incomplete until that documentation was received. And we have it, so now we'll draft a simple letter saying that the Title V is complete.
Okay. Before we go back to regulation revision, I just want to update everybody with some stuff that's been happening in the last day or so. I'll start with NRP, which are the 204 apartments at Reese's. After making a phone call today, I discovered that the nursing firm that was conducting temperature tests and so forth has not been on site for several weeks. They've been replaced by some, as of now, unknown firm. I was talking to the inspectors, and in particular Tom Dorr this morning, and he reported seeing workers fairly frequently without wearing full PPE gear. I spent the last hour or so reviewing some of their daily reports, and frankly, they're all over the place. There are days when everything is just perfect, and there are days when people have been sent home. There have been a number of occasions where workers were not wearing PPE, and those issues were addressed, and they were able to stay on the job. I'm finding the reports a little bit all over the place. Just as an example, a number of early reports just said temperatures were taken and so forth. Then on one day, 97 temperatures were taken. On another day, 12 temperatures were taken. And it's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg. There's a lack of consistency there. They're supposed to be reporting the time. Generally, they have started to do that since about the 20th of April. The third-party inspector saying the 23rd had no recommendations. On the 24th, he said everything was good. Prior to that, there's a history of issues. I still have a couple weeks worth of reports to go through. I have found out that our original contact, Tom Knop, whatever his name was, is no longer there. And the person in charge now is David George. And a lot of the communication is going to and coming from a Ryan Burkhouse, who's the safety director for NRP. Tomorrow, I'm going to be going over some of the particulars with Margaret, excuse me, and there's a very good chance we'll be engaging town council as we proceed with this, because it seems like things are getting a little bit shaky down there. I also took the time to read the third-party inspector's disclaimer, and it's like, yeah, who wouldn't do that job with a disclaimer like that? I mean, life is good.
Right.
So, I don't know how much we can do about that, but we'll get an opinion certainly to see if there's anything we can do to tighten that up. One of the issues with the inspections are, the inspector goes on site and he's on site for an hour, maybe two. I think I'm being generous, at various times a day. But what happens before that and what happens after that? It's very difficult to manage 8 or 10 hour consistency. Tom Dorr went there last Saturday to do an inspection, and our inspectors weren't available, are supposed to get their temperature taken. But the nurse, the facility to do that was already gone. So I have a number of questions relative to the whole temperature testing thing, who's doing it, how, when, because I've sat outside the gates and I've watched people go into the former testing room and other people walk by. And if you go to the other gate, people just walk in and head off to the job sites. My favorite phrase is a site like that is like trying to herd cats. However, I think it's gotten a little bit too loosey-goosey for the likes of our community, because these people can go to the Shell station and Dunkin' Donuts and rub elbows with some of our residents. And that's very much a potential concern. So we will be having conversations with NRP. Yes, Margaret.
I just want to add too that
Please.
I don't want our own inspectors' health put at risk because
Absolutely.
of their
Right.
lack of tight practices. So yeah, like as Paul said, we're going to be talking tomorrow, and we just can't do this. Now, I also don't know whether restrictions on construction sites have been tightened since the governor issued the mandatory face covering order on Friday. So that's something else we can ask legal counsel tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I was speaking with Bill earlier, and while the inspectors were telling me that 3 units that were supposed to be ready are not, so that NRP is putting up 3 families. I don't know how many members, it could be couples, I'm not sure what, in a hotel. And they've had to pay moving expenses and storage expenses. And kind of going over the history a little bit with Bill, the DEP is responsible for the water, the wells, the water supply, and the septic. And they have 30 days to issue their approvals. And I'm going to have a conversation with Richard Hanks. We have no idea whether NRP has done anything on this, but this could be another wrench in their works in terms of getting people to move in if they have to wait for DEP. And are they going to try and skip that hurdle? I'm not trying to cast aspersions. There's just a lot of things, a number of different important things that we have to look at and kind of marshal. I mean, DEP isn't our job, but this is in the town of Berlin. So we should have and do have some say in this.
It's part of the occupancy permit, correct?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Paul, if I could chime in, Paul,
Please.
first go back to those reports. my understanding of that governor's order for construction sites means everybody's temperature is taken as they enter the site. We know there's more than 12 people working there, so that number should never be that low. So that's a serious concern. And to jump to the occupancy, yes, if we're asked to sign off, we would need something in writing from the state that the treatment plant connection is all set. And we
Right.
also need something from the state in writing that the public water supply connection is all set. And DEP issued a letter, at least on the water supply years ago, that said they wanted at least a 30-day lead time before requests for occupancy came in. So that's just a heads up that, people might turn to us for sign off. We'll then turn to DEP, and then they'll have their time frame to do their thing.
Right. There was one individual that got his temperature taken 3 times. I guess they didn't believe it the first time, which was 101.6, then 101.7, and then 99.3. But they did send him home.
Oh, good. Finally.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Was he a roofer?
It didn't specify.
Yeah, no kidding.
And there are other temperatures I've seen on the reports of like 95 degrees. I'm not sure how functioning you are at 95. I mean,
There was a few low ones too.
just wondering.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've spoken with Chief Galvin and Chief Clark. Chief Clark has supplied us with some PPE material for the employees of the transfer station, and it's been provided to them, as well as a letter stating that they must wear it at all times. And if they don't, it could result in termination. We're supplying them with approximately 2-week supply for 3 individuals down there. And they are we requested in writing that if they see a shortfall coming, that they contact one of the Board of Health members 48 hours in advance to give us time to replenish what they see as a shortfall on their horizon. I got a call from Pete because I dropped it off. We didn't interchange. He was thankful and appreciative. And he explained to me why last Saturday when I found him and Jeff without masks on. He gave me a reasonable explanation, and I gave him a reasonable alternative to avoid that reasonable explanation in the future. And that's all good. I talked with Chief Galvin, and I got traffic cones from Dave Smith. We're blocking off the upper road that goes by the Boy Scout container. So we're going to be funneling people just on the lower road. And on Saturday, which is typically the busiest day, Chief Galvin is instructing his officers on duty to patrol Jones Road, as well as drive through the transfer station at least several times to keep an eye on things.
Great.
Bobby and I put together a couple new signs last week, and currently they just say, please be safe, keep 6 feet apart. We're certainly open to expanding that message. If anybody has any ideas, I'm all ears.
Yeah, wear
Don't make it
masks
too
or go
wordy.
home.
I'm sorry, Sue?
Wear masks or go home.
There is that, and I'm not sure how we're going to be able to police that down there.
Well,
Right.
I asked Chief Galvin to bring his ticket book down and start handing out warnings.
He and I did talk about, which is an idea I think you broached with him, putting a vacant cruiser down there
Yep.
with the lights on, just parking it off in the distance a little bit. So unless you're really inquisitive, you don't know if there's somebody in it or not. Just kind of as a little wake-up call to residents coming in. It's just
Right.
it's a difficult situation.
Now, if they are 6 feet apart, Paul, do they need masks? I mean, is that the crutch of it all? It's like,
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure of the governor's specific orders, but,
Right.
you know, if you're in your backyard visiting with somebody and you're 6 feet apart, I don't think
Yeah.
a mask, you know,
No.
nobody's going to bother you. But out in public, and particularly at the transfer station, I think a mask should be required.
You're passing by people, yeah.
Yeah, we could
And Pete asked me a question that I want to put out because this is one I did not have an answer for. What do we do with people who aren't wearing masks? How do we handle that? What do we tell them? Do we
If
send
they're,
them home?
if they're
Margaret?
alone down there, I don't know, you know, if they're in the shed, I don't know what the answer is. It's tough.
Margaret, you get your hand up, please.
Good.
Yep. The police do have some enforcing authority. So Sue's idea of issuing warnings is not too far off.
Mhm.
So the police chief could actually ask his officers to advise people who are there without masks that they need to have masks on in accordance with the governor's order. Now, the governor's order, it says that masks must be worn in public places when social distancing cannot be achieved. But you're saying, you know, and I've seen it at the transfer station, people walk by each other, they're going
Right.
next to each other, throwing their things
Right.
away.
Yeah.
You know, social distancing can't be achieved 100% of the time there.
Right.
So I think if you have another chance to talk to Chief Galvin, I think that issuing warnings is really a reasonable option. I don't think they're going to be strongly enforcing, but just their presence there is going to send a
Just
message.
their presence, and if they're talking to one person, I'm sure several others will be listening or hearing. So there should be a little bit of a domino effect that's in our favor. And while we're on that subject, I representing the board, am going to ask the chief to help us with the enforcement of wearing masks and social distancing. There's only so much we can do. However, the police department can go far beyond what we can. And I already know that they're more than willing to help us with that. But just to be on the record, we will be asking the police department to give us a hand there. Bobby?
So we probably should put on the sign, please wear masks, or masks required, or
Maybe
Yeah.
mask required, simple.
Yeah,
mask
masks
required.
must be worn here. You know, just like,
Masks required, like something simple. We don't want to make it too hard for them. We don't want them crashing reading it, but, but yeah. You'd be
Yeah,
surprised.
we can't provide cliff notes for the signs, right?
Right. But yeah, no, I think that would, and that's a warning right there, one, you
Mhm.
know, and then they can get another one if there's issues.
We can do that. We'll change
could
some
always-
signs tomorrow.
yeah, you could always,
Sue, sorry.
sorry,
There are so many faces, I get confused.
Fine.
you could always give Pete a citation book. He could have fun. just
Oh,
write-
gee, no. Oh, boy.
Oh, Sue, you're
It'd
hurting
be
me.
more than one, but no. They try, and they're trying to stay, you know.
I also, I'm gonna jump ahead and then jump back to the transfer station. Just so you know, I did go to the general store and spoke with Melissa about the no mask, no service, and they were already on that. Her mom was making signs for each door that basically says that. I went up later this afternoon, and in fact, it was there. I was looking for it, but I had to look. So tomorrow I'm just going to ask them to use a highlighter around the side, something to just bring attention. Because right now it's a white sheet of paper with a printout. And the way people go in and out there, you know, out of
Does
sight,
that-
out of mind. So, but
Would-
they're
would that-
willing, you know, they want to do the right things there. So, you know, I'm very pleased with that.
Okay.
Oh, back to the transfer station. We're going to be dealing with the sale of stickers. Pete, I believe he already talked to Sue about this, and he broached it with me about, excuse me, I have a cat that It's not a baby. No, it's a cat.
Don't you feed them?
Potato leave. Pete's idea was to sell stickers through the window and have a card table where people could fill out the applications and all that. And I listened to him, and I said, we haven't decided. I pointed out my issue with that would be people are going to back up at a card table. Sue, I think you had talked about an idea of setting something almost like a drive-through out and handing multiple clipboards out to people in cars so they can be filling out their
Yep.
requests.
They never have to get out of their car.
I know, but now we're talking, how do we sterilize the clipboards?
One in,
And do we have to? I think we do. I don't know how to do that.
Well, I was gonna buy pens, so we don't have to sterilize, the pens. You get
Right.
Really cheap pens. And I'll just have to donate a big thing of Clorox wipes, and Donna can wipe down. Donna does not want to be stuck in the office with Pete.
right.
I personally, I would be 110% against that.
Yeah, knowing that Pete hasn't been diligent in wearing masks up till now. Donna's a germaphobe. She does not want, she knows Bill Brookings has been in the office, and, she loves Bill. She knows he's a very clean person,
Right.
and she will go in and wipe everything down in the office before she will take off her
Hey.
gloves.
I don't
I
blame her.
will, using wipes or something, we'll figure it out. We'll get one or two pop-up tents, but we'll try and conduct the sale outside as much as possible. Hopefully more people will do it via the mail.
Right,
Yep.
right. My thought.
We've gotten
And
a
take some of
number
that
of
pressure
them.
off.
We should encourage that. Yeah.
We've gotten a number of requests already. Donna and I are kind of redesigning the sticker receipt form. So kind of we can make it where we don't even, have to tear off something and hand it back to them.
Right, okay.
They can fill out and write their own sticker number down. I mean, it's just, we're trying to figure out a way as little contact as possible.
Absolutely.
We could put it on the town website, encourage the mailing, correct?
Yep. We're making also for Margaret, we're making a list of all the supplies that we would need to sell the stickers, because we want to give one request for
Everything we need,
yes,
right.
to get it approved.
Make it
instead
a
of doing-
package deal.
Yep. So I do need the request from whatever Pete's gonna need for the end of the year.
Yeah.
And Margaret, we would tend to hold back some of our spending to make sure we had enough money to pay for,
Yeah.
yes.
Just know what you need. If you need things because of COVID-19, you need to
Right.
spend money on those things because of COVID-19.
Yeah,
You know, we are,
there
That's
are
a
things
separate,
that we would buy every year in May and June that we have to spend before July 1st. But in those things, I'm assuming we still have to have the TA and the accounting approval on, correct?
if there are supplies that you need that are that we would consider essential spending, then yes, you'd have to do the form. If you have emergency things related to COVID-19, if you're buying supplies specifically for that, you don't necessarily have to do an essential spending request. Essential spending is for other costs in your budget that you're spending money on.
okay,
So talk to us ahead of time. We'll figure that out. No
Okay.
problem.
yeah.
We'll be conservative.
I know
Okay,
you will.
before we move on to Berlin regs, does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything else that we might be missing at this point?
Paul, this might be a good time, and well, Margaret's here also. You know, some of the other town halls I work with are talking about what requirements will be in place as town
Reopen?
reopen to the public. So it's probably a good time to start thinking of that ahead of time. You know, for the protection of the employees, obviously, and anyone else that happens to be using the building.
Yeah. We have started, I've started working with the chiefs, and Dave's also involved too, regarding the physical barriers that we want to have in place. You know, like the plexiglass for counters, and things like that.
Yeah.
FEMA will reimburse for any costs that are considered, I don't want to call it temporary, but temporary.
Mhm.
Things that are going to specifically address the COVID-19 issue. So not permanent replacement of doors and windows and things like
Right.
that. They will they will reimburse, not to reconstruct the place, but they will
Got
reimburse. They will reimburse for temporary measures. So we're starting to think about that. I'm also starting to think about reintroducing staff back to the building. So buildings staff that's been working at home. So we're going to be doing a reentry plan for that. So Bill and Board of Health, if you have any ideas or suggestions, I'm happy to take them because we are starting to think about that now.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Margaret, also the letter that went from the selectmen to the Northbrook Village folks.
Yeah.
I didn't see DEP on the CC, and it might be wise to even just email a copy of that to Susan Connors at DEP, because she's the contact, or has been the contact, regarding the water supply. And
Okay.
you know, she you know, they're working on the perchlorate, but also the lingering complaints of sediment in some of the buildings on Northbrook 1. So I know the water supply was in that letter, so it might be wise just to keep her in the loop also.
It was
Oh,
sent to
okay.
Worcester.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
It was to Robert Bostwick.
Oh, Bostwick's the head of the program. Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Good enough. Thank you, Mary.
Mary included a long list of
Yes,
parties to be at. So
All right, great.
That's still,
Mary Arata, do we have anybody looking to get on or comment or anything like that?
There's no attendees in the queue, no.
No attendees? Thank you. Good.
Uh,
All right, let's move on to the regulation.
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
changes.
Chairman.
Raise your hand higher. Go ahead.
I'll raise my hand. I
Yes,
want to
Sue.
remind you, I don't know who's in charge of this. The ADA assessment is Thursday morning at the transfer station.
okay.
thank you, Sue.
I didn't get a specific time. I know they're hitting a couple other places first. I don't know what, but the transfer station typically does not open until noontime.
I think I mentioned that in the email to him, but let me check. That's Thursday, right? Let me check with him tomorrow to get a time from him so we know precisely.
Because somebody's got to be down there to unlock the gate.
Yep, they do.
All right.
Just a comment to Billy, Chairman.
Yes, Bob.
Billy, that house on Old Central is all boarded up and it looks like a total burn
I
there.
did go by there the other day to confirm
yeah.
that, and I spoke to Richard Hanks to let him know that no building permits would be allowed until the septic and well issues that exist there are addressed. You know, if they want to demo it, that's fine, but we won't be allowing anything to move forward until he addresses our concerns.
I hadn't been by, it was 2 or 3 months ago, but it looked like it burned pretty right up through the roof and
Yeah,
everything.
it's on the plywood up, so it has been secured. Yep.
Yeah, so, all righty. That was it.
Folks,
for me.
Yes, Margaret.
I'm gonna have to leave shortly, but I wanted just to mention that we're a little more than a month and a half away from the June 22nd town meeting. I had a conversation with the moderator yesterday. He's still planning on having town meeting in a socially distanced format in the school gym. So he and I will keep communicating about that. But what I wanted to do, and I got an idea from one of my colleagues in another town across the state, is that they're actually putting together Ziploc bags with PPE inside them to give them out to all people who are approaching the check-in desk for town meetings. So they're going to be giving out masks and gloves to all attendees at town meetings. So I just wanted to run that by you, just for something to think about. I don't exactly
Yeah.
know how we're approaching this, but we're going to have to consider social distancing and personal protection. So
So you're gonna have to put a limit on the amount of people that go in there?
there would have to be a limit based on the social distancing guidelines. Yes. Yeah.
And we might have to set up in the parking lot. Who knows? I don't know.
That's another option. We've looked at that. The board, the
Or
select board
both.
talked about that. Yeah, the select board talked about that. There are about 70 parking spaces around the back of the building that you could actually have people stay in their cars or what have you. So it's time for some creativity. Plus, there's all of South Commons. You could set it up like a drive-in movie format.
There you go. We have a movie after.
And after town meeting, you could play a movie on a big screen or something.
I like the
Yeah.
drive-in movie thing.
That'd be great.
Yes.
We have done remote at the municipal building and the town hall. And the school at one time, but I don't know if there's enough room in the municipal to do that.
Yeah.
We did it one time there, but yeah. No, sounds
That's-
good to think about.
Yeah, we'll keep thinking about it and I'll keep you posted, okay?
Okay, very
Okay.
good.
Keeps
All right,
coming up
everybody,
fast.
Thank you, Margaret.
thank you
Awesome.
very much.
Good
Paul,
night.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Everybody
Yes.
else,
Yep.
stay safe, take care, bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.
All right. The proposed changes in the Berlin Board of Health regs. Start with K, construction and fill. Removing one paragraph. I hope I don't have to read all of these. We all
No,
should
we
have
can-
copies.
I don't believe we made any
I've got-
changes in there the last time that we discussed it.
Okay?
I
The
think it's the
major-
table of distances that we need to tweak.
Yes,
Right.
Because after tonight, if we're all on board, we will get copies of this to the three main installers that we have in town. And maybe we include CSI because they do some work in town as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that those fellows can weigh in, because they've all asked me, and I said, we're not approving anything until we get one more round of feedback from you, so.
Great.
Use of Title V.
why don't you go down to the second page?
4-1. Is it?
Yeah, it says remove the following table on page 7. And then I put the new table in on the third page of the document I sent you. So I need to know if I interpreted all that correctly.
So I had a couple quick red lines for you.
Okay,
If you look at the replacement table, if you go down to water courses, streams, ponds, swamps, other wetlands and surface waters,
Yep,
I think we had talked about going to 50 on the tank and 100 on the leach facility, because that is double the Title V offset. So the Title V is 25 to tank, 50 to the leach area. So if we double it, that would be 50, not 100.
okay.
Okay.
yep.
And that, yeah, right.
That was the only edit I saw on that one.
Yeah, because I remember part of the conversation was that tanks are sealed and, there's minimal risk there.
And then Paul and Bob, Sue and I have already talked about this. We questioned the 150-foot offset to all open and subsurface drains and aqueducts, the 100 and the 150. I did go back to my previous notes and I had us discussing 50 for both of those, but that's a change from the last revised set you had. So I want to make sure you're aware of that change and okay with it.
I'm all right with that one.
Yeah, where is that?
That is just above the watercourses, streams, ponds, and swamps. It says all open and subsurface drains and aqueducts.
Gotcha.
Yep, so you changed it to 50 based on our discussion, but that was something that Paul and Bob haven't seen yet, because we hadn't had that number before when we met last.
Okay.
Okay.
And the numbers prior to the 50 were,
150 to leach area and 100 to tank.
$50 to $100. And Bill, did we, that's the offset for, we raised a 2-inch, 2-minute or less soils, we raise it a foot and go to the
No.
same?
No, that well, those 2-minute soil offsets we've removed, but the drain
Oh.
offset wasn't perk dependent. It was just 150
Oh.
area
Oh,
per tank.
I see.
That one's been an issue in the past, and
Right.
again, we were advised by town council years ago that it really wasn't a defendable offset. So I had
Right.
notes from the time we met. It was probably many months ago that we were talking about going to 50 on each of those. So I want
Yep.
to make sure you're aware of that change and okay with it.
I'm all right with it.
yeah, I don't have a problem.
Okay, and then the last real edit we did was we added well regulations.
Oh, actually, Sue, could we back up 1 minute?
Yeah,
I should have given you the full wording on this. Section C, 5C, depth to maximum groundwater elevation.
Mhm.
When we're going to a 5-foot offset in 2-minute soils, I should have given you the real wording out of the code. It's a little bit lengthy, but I could give it to you now if I speak slowly.
Okay,
So so it should say in
Oh,
5 feet in, and then just strike the 2-minute soils. And in place of that, whenever you're ready,
wait a minute. We're removing the following paragraph, depth to maximum groundwater elevation, correct?
right, and then we're going to replace with.
Okay,
So go to the end of that paragraph
yep.
where it says 5 feet in 2-minute soils.
Well, we've got,
Is this C?
C, yep,
Yep,
Roman
okay.
I
numeral.
don't even have that 5 feet and 2.
Oh, the
Well,
bottom of my page says less than 4 feet below the bottom of facility, comma, 5 feet in 2-minute soils. This is the latest one you sent us. I just printed it tonight.
Okay. All right, what do you want me to add?
Well, after that 4 feet below the bottom of the facility, comma,
Oh, there it is.
it's going to say 5 feet in soils with a percolation rate
All right,
of 2 minutes per inch or less.
all right.
Because we all know what 2-minute soils are, but just to have it match Title V's wording, we'll add that lengthy section.
Okay, because it does say that in essence here, but not spelled out, right, Billy?
I can do that.
And then on the well regs, we've actually removed, at least in the copy I have, the line that was removed actually needs to remain, and the one that was left is the one that has to be pulled.
Yeah, all right.
That's what I was wondering, if it was me, yeah.
So if you want to go to the replace with,
Yeah,
4.11, that top distance, leaching facility in soils with percolation rates of 2 minutes or less, 150, that needs to be removed.
Okay,
And what you'd replace it with is the first line of the paragraph above, leaching
Leaching.
facility. 310, now that CMR should be capitalized, and it should be 15.000. There should be 3 zeros after the 15.
okay,
And then that would be 100 feet. So that means any well to any leaching facility, regardless of perk, will be 100 feet.
Okay.
I can do that as well. Gives me something to occupy me tomorrow.
Everything else looked great.
How about if I redo this? Should I send it to Bill first, just to make sure I haven't missed anything?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
That's fine, yeah.
And then
He's most familiar with it, and he'd be able to pick up any
Errors.
hiccups or variances much quicker than myself.
Yeah, yeah, he's good with the verbiage.
He's good with the numbers. He's good with it all.
Yeah. Do you know anything else, Bill? Yeah, excuse me, Chairman.
No, I think this those final revisions will represent what the board has discussed all along with the installers. And it will eliminate a lot of the variance requests that we see over and over. And it'll be getting more in line, obviously, with Title V also.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is this project 15 months in the making, or is it over 2 years since we started?
Actually, it's 4.
Yeah, I think so.
Sue, come on.
She's done what we all.
You're
done.
exaggerating again. There we go.
I am not. I'll go dig my notes back out.
No, I trust you. I know we've been looking at it for quite some time, off and on. We're finally, we're on the home stretch, though. I think this is great.
It's gonna be my claim to fame. I got it done.
Okay.
You've
I'm
done
gonna,
a good job.
I'll let Concon know that, too.
I'm surprised none of them are on,
Well, they'll,
comment.
we'll get this all cleaned up. We'll get copies out.
Yeah.
We'll probably be inviting the different installers to a Zoom meeting or ask them to respond in writing to us. And then we'll be in a position where we can post a hearing and move forward definitively.
Very
Okay.
good.
So we're all in agreement on these
Yep.
Yeah.
so far? And that's about it.
I think we're good.
All right.
Paul,
Yes.
if you have any questions or comments, concerns when you meet with Margaret about the NRP, certainly give me a call.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That, yeah, it's becoming a, I guess I'm going to use the term, it seems like it's becoming a rat's nest because they're changing personnel,
Mhm.
not notifying us.
Right.
The reports are all over the place. They're not consistently the same, so they're difficult to follow, to
Mhm.
compare one day to the next.
They're losing help.
Nursing company changed. We should have
Yeah.
been advised of that.
Absolutely.
No kidding.
So there'll be some stuff coming down with that.
Yes.
It's probably going to take Margaret and myself the better part. Well, it's going to take me a while tomorrow. Margaret's probably a lot quicker than I am. She'll look at it and then we'll get what we think is appropriate to town council to review and see how he suggests responding.
Sure.
But I mean, all the cards are on the table. I mean, they want to get it done, but
Right.
they've kind of stopped playing ball. So,
Well, I can't believe they're putting people up. They were supposed to move in, Paul. We have people still put up down in the old, Northbrook too.
well, they were supposed to have units ready in April. So that's what people,
I see.
rented or bought or however they're dealing with that.
They set it up, I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Contractually, yeah.
I am so glad Kristen could not afford an
Get down
apartment
there,
down
yeah.
there.
Blessing in disguise, Sue.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else. Any last go around? Bobby, anything?
Nope, just like I think you said, maybe the sign we could add, one of us can add the letters to that sign, make it a little more clearer, I guess, Paul.
Yep. I know Pete didn't care for where we located one sign, but that
Well,
didn't
now
really
it-
surprise me.
Yeah, well, now we're shutting off a driveway. I guess you can't miss it now, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Sue, do you have anything?
No, I think we covered everything.
Bill, you're set?
Yep.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'd make a motion to close the meeting, but you gotta do a roll call.
I'm planned to, but I need the motion first, honey.
I'll second it.
All right. We'll do the roll call. On the motion to adjourn that's been seconded, Sue Regera,
Aye.
Bobby Wheeler,
All right.
Paul McCall, aye. And Bill, all you gotta do is nod your head, you know.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Just say bye, Billy.
Yeah, good night.
Thank you, everybody.